From the kitchen of the cabin, it's the 5 Games for Doomsday review. BerlinCon. I love being wrong. This is a very healthy position for me, as I'm wrong most of the time. If I didn't love being wrong, I'd have to rectify things, and that sounds like an awful lot of work. I'm a great fan of the snap judgment, the unrehearsed utterance, the spontaneous outburst. I'm simultaneously racked with self-doubt and supremely confident of my own opinions. I love to leap at the first conclusion going past and use all the energy I would require to be active and successful in holding on to that conclusion for dear life. It's why my fingernails are so long. I need them to dig into the hide of whatever galloping fancy has caught my attention that day. It has nothing to do with the fact that maintaining a basic level of hygiene would require a level of ambulatory effort I can't be bothered to summon. This is why, when I thought of this year's BerlinCon, I was less than enthusiastic. I'll explain why, but it requires some background on this city in general. Since I first moved here, I've sensed that Berlin is not everything it professes to be. It is a city that is intensely modern in that its marketing is on point. Also, on the subject of how wonderful it is, it's rigidly dogmatic. If Berlin is simply not the best place you've ever been, you are a fascist and deserve to be cancelled. I have a different view of this town. I believe that Berlin is a town of brutal superficiality, an 892 square kilometre playground of adult pretend where you can be anything you claim to, even though you answer the phone for a living. There are no wait staff in this town. There are interdisciplinary cultural agriculturalists, there are chakra-fueled holistic performance dialecticians, and throw a rock and you'll hit any number of screenwriters, film directors and experienced sculptors. Just don't throw it too hard, as I'd quite like my carrot and coriander soup before the heat death of the universe. And before you scream hypocrite at your smartphone, I'm one of these arseholes too. Christ, I'm writing this in a cafe after having just drunk a coffee thickened with soya milk. I know what I'm talking about. The biggest problem I have with Berlin is that there is very little seriousness here. It's all aspiration and no work, silly little startups and half-arsed little performance collectives. It's enough to do it, to be it. It doesn't matter one bit if it's good. That's the problem I've had with previous iterations of BerlinCon. It was enough to do it, to be it, and the quality could go hang. At least that's the impression I got. This year that all changed. This year's event was beautifully planned and rigorously executed, and one of the best con experiences I've had in years. I dragged myself to the con this year, as I'd been so disappointed in the past. The previous versions had focused on vendors and demos. This works fine at SM where there's the excitement of hundreds of new games, but in a con where releases are at a minimum, the attraction of waiting for table space at a booth that's offering things I've been seeing for the last 6 months is less than appealing. It seemed to me that they had got the balance all wrong, that the focus on publishers hawking their tarnished wares was benefiting no one, least of all the punters paying to go through the turnstiles. This was exacerbated by a previous location that served the purpose of a board game convention terribly. It was the quintessence of Berlin. It looked incredibly cool but served no practical purpose. Floor upon floor with the middle cutouts, you could look at all the other floors as you were banged and pushed because you were crammed into the edges of the building. No food provision and water that was undrinkable because it was contaminated by the corroding iron pipes. I'm so glad I hauled myself to attend this year though. What a difference a change of location and a reassessment of focus can make to an event. BerlinCon is a mid-sized convention, and any convention of this size has to balance the advertising of games and the playing of games. It has to have enough of a publisher presence to have demos and to give it the impression of being an event worthy of attendance, and it also has to have room for people to take command of their own gaming, and to do this at a reasonable price that allows for real inclusivity. What it can't be is 150 quid on top of your outlay in a downtown Vancouver hotel to ensure that you can be part of a financially distillated cool group, although that cover charge does include free preening about how you care about the kind of diversity that only money can buy. BerlinCon understands that an event like this can create new gamers. Not only is it great value, but the Sunday is a family day where children and an adult companion get in for free. It seems that the organisers have a real desire to expand the gaming family, and their pricing reflects that. Then there is the location of the con itself. It's almost perfect. This is not to damn the organisers with faint praise either. It's what they've done with the location that makes it an unqualified success. One huge hall is dedicated to exhibitors and demos, and it seems that the whole of the German board game world was in attendance. This side of the hall didn't focus on the transactional though. It was about learning and playing new games, about cultivating experience, and the fact that the majority of demoers spoke at least German and English reflected the international outlook of the city that was hosting the event. The other hall was given over entirely to open gaming. This had been conspicuously absent from previous shows, but here it was given as much consideration as the exhibitors. Although the room always buzzed with players playing, I never had an issue to find a table, and the library catered to everyone. All of this was included in the ticket too. BerlinCon felt like a celebration of the hobby rather than a crass commercial exercise, and it's to be roundly commended for that. I approached BerlinCon with teenage levels of apathy this year, and as usual, I demonstrated my congenital ability to avoid being right like a Tory avoids the humane, and it felt good to be so wrong. The whole weekend was one of the best con experiences I've had in ages, and I'll be first in line next year. That is, if I can get out of bed on time. This review was made possible by the support of my patrons. You can become one too at patreon.com/5G4D. Thank you for listening.